with Brittany Lee guests. I am so glad you're here today. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of having one of my not one of, my very best friend on here. So I am very pleased to be welcoming Tracy Sanderson to the show. Thank you, Tracy, for being here today. I am so glad you're here. And so I just want to tell you guys a little bit about Tracy. Tracy is our head of the email marketing department at VRM. She is a mom of two beautiful little kids, and they are ages 13 and 5. Right, Tracy?
Yes.
I always want to call Ellie older because she's very adventurous and she's very she's 5. She's a 5-year-old and a 13-year-old's she's trapped. So, also, Tracy's favorite color is yellow, so you'll see in a second why I chose the image that I did for today's post. And as a side note, Tracy's actually going to be with us in VRM University Live in Wilmington on April 26th. So if you haven't had a chance to sign up, make sure you do that because you're going to get to watch Tracy and talk to her live at VRM University Wilmington. Why was that a mouthful?
VMU Live Wilmington.
VRMU Live Wilmington. Okay, so we are talking about today the 5 things that you need to know about email marketing to increase profits. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Tracy. Again, Tracy, thanks so much for being on Tea with Brittany Lee today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's so exciting to be here. Brittany, did we have those screenshots? Because I can't see your screen at the moment.
Oh, you can't? Okay. Technical difficulties, people. Hold on one second. I'm going to try.
I need to not share the beautiful slides that were created just for
you. I know, right? I want to make sure that everybody can see them. So share screen. There we go. Now can you see my slides?
Now we can see your slides.
Look, y'all, I did a whole slide over here that you didn't even get to see because I didn't have my screen shared. I'm sorry about that. So now go ahead, Tracy.
All right. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the 5 things that you need to know about email marketing. So obviously, I think that everyone who will be listening to this live or may listen to it on replay, you have at least an idea about what email marketing is and why it's an important part of your marketing strategy. When you don't do email marketing appropriately, you are taking the chance of leaving thousands of dollars on the table. And if you're in business, I'm assuming that you're in business to make money. So leaving dollars on the table is not something that you want to do if you can easily implement steps that are going to not just be a great return on your investment, but actually something that's very simple in the world of marketing, and especially digital marketing. To me, and I think that most people in our industry and actually just across business industries, small business, large business, hands down, email marketing is the best short-term game you can get into. When I say short-term game, I'm really saying that you can take something very easily, very quickly. You could take 30 minutes to create a piece of publication, send it out to your email list, a good email list, and then within a span of 3 weeks, be creating a return on that investment. And that's a short-term gain. We look at something like social media marketing, which, Brittany is the social media marketing guru. That's a longer term gain. It's going to take you a longer period of time to see those efforts because it's a cumulative thing. And the part about email marketing was, while there is a short-term piece of it, there's also a long-term piece, is because you are actually in this to create relationships. You want to give something to people in their inbox. You're delivering it to their front door that they want to open week after week, month after month, that you're actually giving them quality information that they want and they need. So right off the bat, just that's a little bonus. Don't give something to people if they don't want it or they don't need it, because they're not going to open it and you're wasting your time. And just a little like tidbit, a while back, we ran a marketing campaign. This was really when I was just starting with VRM. With Brittany, I kind of tag teamed it through the year last year. We had one client that we were able, I believe the number was $64,000 in revenue that was generated exclusively from email marketing. So I don't know if maybe you want to like pick up a piece of $64,000. We had another client very recently in 3 consecutive emails, which was from their very first email that we launched, 1, 2, and 3, $17,000. So that's the kind of numbers we're talking about. And this, there's no like, no super secret special sauce. And the little secrets that we do have, we're going to be sharing with them. We're going to share them with you today. All right, there, I said it was a tongue twister.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that's having trouble with a tongue twister today. Goodness gracious.
You know, the one thing that sets email marketing apart from other forms of marketing is your ability to get your message right to people's front door. So it's the new postcard that you're delivering to people. It's the new way of getting, you know, the newspaper straight to the front door. And when you do that, you are, to me, that is a level of trust. You know, I'm trusting you to come close to me. So remember that when you're broadcasting your message out there, that they're giving you permission to come up on their front porch and put that in their mailbox. So just remember that as we move on into these really great strategies and tips. Okay, so number 1, from probably my favorite, is brand consistency. So brand consistency is when you take your brand, so your logo, the fonts that you use exclusively for your marketing, your color palette, your style of photos, and you put that into one package. And you can see here on Brittany's slide, she has this is a brand kit that we use. This is actually Sunsurf Realty's brand kit. It's absolutely beautiful. It's very, very simple. They have their target keywords, their font styles, and very, very limited font. They have their picture style. So for example, Sunsurf Realty is in Eastern North Carolina. We don't want them having big rocky cliffs in their backgrounds with big tall redwood trees in their pictures. We don't want crystal clear Bahama blue waters, because that's not what our waters look like here in Eastern North Carolina. So we're a very clear picture. Sunsurf Realty is very family focused. So we want pictures of kids and grandparents, and we have those color schemes. And that builds your brand. And then so your brand should be echoed on your website, in all of your social media, in all of your printed materials, and over onto your email marketing. So when people open something from you, they immediately know it's you, even if there's no logo in sight. They become so familiar with who you are as a brand that they just know, oh, that's Sunsurf Realty. It doesn't matter if they're looking at you on Instagram, or if they're opening an email or see a billboard. They would automatically know if they're one of your clients. And we all know the bread and butter in vacation rental management is our repeat guest. And they're the client that we love. Those that come back year after year and generation after generation, we want them to be part of our family and to recognize our brand consistently. And if they don't recognize it, those year after year clients, we probably have a little bit of a problem. So number 1, brand consistency. It yields engagement. Oh, look at all those pretty, there was a few other of those brand kits. Go slower. Oh, you can't.
I can't. I put the thing on there and then I did it too fast. So I'm sorry, guys. I'm still learning my builds in PowerPoint over here.
It was really beautiful nonetheless. So there
Thank
was,
you. I can maybe move one. I don't know.
Flip through some of our other brand kits that we use on a regular basis. And if you do not have this piece of marketing material in your bag of tricks, hands down, for me, it's your number 1 thing that you need. It will make your marketing efforts when you're building those campaigns, when you're writing an owner's email, it just makes it so seamless and flawless. And I know Brittany and I both struggled with things. Oh, it's too simple. Like, it's just too easy. But it number 1, it makes your material look beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's on brand. And that's what's going to build the brand consistency, and it will make your life so much easier. Right, Brittany?
It's so true. You know, guys, what Tracy said is so true. I struggled because I thought, oh my goodness, no, it's going to be too simple. Like, we can't make all of our quotes this one text format. We can't make all of our stuff like this is going to be boring, but it's not. It's actually so beautiful, and it ties everything together perfectly and seamlessly. And people recognize you from a mile away because they're like, oh, yep, I know their colors. I know their fonts. I know who they are. I know what they represent. So yeah, if you don't have a brand kit, you should get one.
So yeah, so hands down, number one, if you don't have a brand kit, you're going to need one, and you're going to need that to use that across all of your, all of any media that you're doing. So shall we move on to number two?
There we go.
Targeting emails. Okay. When Brittany and I were in Gatlinburg, we heard this beautiful speaker. Her name was Heather Wernerman. I should have.
Yeah.
She was a brilliant young lady, and one of the biggest takeaways I took from her segment on email marketing was about target marketing. So essentially, if you never take the time to look at your list, look at your email list, and divide it into categories, and be able to target people based on something that they might like to have, instead of broadcasting one message out to your entire email list, which is not wrong. But if you don't take the time and plan and strategize on doing target marketing, you're missing a very important piece of the puzzle. So the screenshot that Brittany has on the screen is obviously from Beachside Vacations. And Charleston, surprise, surprise, was ranked one of the South's best cities, or the South's best city in 2018. They were really excited and proud about that. So we, made a custom graphic for them using their brand kit. So this is straight out of their brand kit and marketing this for them. But obviously, anyone who's vacationed with them is interested in their area. But then how can you take this and target it down even smaller? So let's say you were running a particular, we have 3 different houses that you just had really low booking on. The people love your area. And you have these 3 houses, and maybe what they have in common is their ocean front. And they need some love. They need some attention. Well, via VRM, the incredible software that it is, you have the capability of going into your admin console and going into your reports and pulling reports on specific properties. So you could go into those 3 different properties, or 4 or 5 or 6, ever how much time you wanted to take, and pull 3 years worth of guest information and send an email targeted specifically to them. They've already come, let's say it's Charleston, they already come Charleston. They love it. Who doesn't go to Charleston and love Charleston? They love the beaches. They rented these bigger oceanfront homes. So there's a good chance they're going to want to book again. So you target this email specifically to those people. So you give them something about the area in one hand, and then you give them some really great information about those particular properties in another, maybe offering repeat guest discount. And you send that email only to those people. So you've created a separate email list just for those clients. So that is one way of doing a target email. Another way you could do a target email is a little bit different. Instead of pulling a very specific list, you could actually talk about a very specific topic, say like travel insurance. Well, travel insurance is one of those low-hanging fruits. It's if you're not marketing your travel insurance at least a few times a year, you're probably losing a little slice of pie. That why lose it? Go after those low-hanging fruits. Maybe you have some kind of other add-on service that you could advertise, or something else that's commission-based. So send out an email to people who have already booked. They're already coming. They're already scheduled to come in 2018. Send them an email specifically, but make it pretty and fun, and give them something valuable, some valuable information. Maybe you have a blog of, the top 10 things you need in your beach bag. Well, those people who are coming in for their vacation, that's helpful information for them. Maybe you have a checklist, and so they're not going to miss out on forgetting something in their beach bag. So they're going to want to open the email because you're giving them something valuable, but at the same time, you're telling them, hey, we're so thankful you've already booked with us, but don't forget that if you haven't already bought your travel insurance, you might want to do that and, you know, make a really pretty graphic to go with it that's on brand. It's with your brand kit, nice and brand consistent, and voila, you have a targeted email. So I think that, oh, and just while I'm talking about targeted emails, don't forget that within the VRM admin console, in your guest reports, you have the ability to filter by marketing codes. Now, every VRM client uses marketing codes a little bit differently. So you know your marketing codes, so use them to your advantage. So, you know, do something for repeat guests, or maybe if you have something for people who've come through social media and you have a way of capturing that, send them something specific. Use those marketing codes to help you market to the right people. All right, number 3. Meaningful links. Okay, well, if you are sending someone from an email straight to your homepage, it's not necessarily a bad thing because you want people to land on your website, right? Or call you. But if they can go to your website and you're drawing them in, you're filtering them in from their email box, where do you want them to go? You want them to land on your website. So how do they do that? They do that by clicking on a link that's inside the email. Well, sending them to the homepage is okay, but it's not great. You really want to give your audience something specific to click on that you're going to actually direct them where you want them to go. Does that make sense to everybody? So for example, this is from Plumley Vacation Realties. If they open this email, they have these things called Plumley Perks. You can get free bike rentals and DVDs and things like that. It's a great add-on that they do for their guest. So I want those people to go check out my Plumley Perks, because if they can see my Plumley Perks, maybe they'll choose me over when they went and looked at somebody else that does not have any perks. Does that make sense? So I'm going to send them via a link to something that's meaningful to them. Then later down in the email, I have, very specific links to either properties or web groups. Direct the people where you want them to land. The place on your website where they're going to be one step closer to hitting that book now button, because that's what you're after, right? Book now.
Yes. And I just want to throw in a little something right here. So I have this arrow that's pointing to the book now, because that is a call to action. And a call to action is something that forces your guest to do something with your email. And also remembering that all of your images within your email system can actually be linked as well. So make sure that you put your link on your image, because people will click on images more often than they actually click on text links.
Right, and buttons. People love to click on buttons. I rarely use text. I shouldn't say rarely. I don't use text links often anymore. I normally do buttons or graphics for my links. It's just they're by far clicked on more often. It's not to say that you wouldn't if it was appropriate to use a text link. And just a tip for all of you beach vacation rentals, people love to click on that oceanfront homes button. I mean, who doesn't love an oceanfront home? But by far, if I put an oceanfront button on a page, it will out-click every other graphic and button on that email. So just if you're looking to try to get people over to your website, add a little button, check out our oceanfront homes, and just put a button right smack in the middle. All right, so let's move on to number 4. So number 4 is all about mobile view. Did you guys know that over 50% of your audience is going to be viewing your email on a mobile device? Well, it's probably not that big a surprise, because everywhere you go, people are on their cell phones. It's the computer in your back pocket or the computer in your purse. We all have it. I'm sure there's not many of here listening today that don't have their email on their phone. Everybody has email on their phone. So it's really important that whatever platform you use to generate your emails, whether it's MailChimp or Constant Contact, whatever you use, that you make sure that you really keep mobile view in mind. If your software does not give you the ability to view it in a mobile mode, My suggestion is that you think about keeping your images all the same size. If you do squares, do all of them squares. If you do rectangular, use the same dimensions and do all of them that same. Because when you're viewing it on your desktop, having different size images, it's not that big of a deal because they're so nice and large. But on a mobile, when you're scrolling through, when they're the same size consistently, it presents much better. The other thing is your paragraph length. If you were to read a 4 or 5 sentence paragraph on your desktop, it's not that big of a deal. But think about reading that same 4 or 5 sentence paragraph on your mobile phone. It's long and you're scrolling forever. Keep your paragraphs nice and short. One sentence paragraphs are totally fine. Just think about it in your scrolling. And if you have to scroll too long before you come to the next graphic or the next image, it's probably too much text. Just think about it yourself when you're scrolling. How far do you scroll before you get tired and stop? And remember, the American public, especially our attention span is not what it used to be. So really, really long narrative processes is not something you probably want to give to your audience in the form of an email. Keep it short and simple. And those images, they need to be high quality, very, very high quality photos. If generating a high quality photo yourself, as far as going out, taking a picture, if you don't have a high resolution camera or phone that you can take those images with that can then be translated over onto your email, then you probably need to invest in some stock photography or use one of the free stock image sites where you can actually get really great quality images for yourself. Because we're also just everybody in the tech world, where we all have these computers in our pockets. We are spoiled to expecting high quality images. And I think I'm telling you something already you know, I'm sure from your property images, the higher quality that they are, the better. We want good imagery. So the same thing translates over into an email. All right. Number 5. So number 5 is a little different, and I have had a little bit of a hard time with this one, but it's so true. One of the most important things that you can do when you're making email marketing a top priority is to give without asking anything in return. Who wants to only ever be sold to? And if this is you, I want to apologize in advance, but have you ever had that friend that they only ever contact you when they want to sell you something?
Yeah, I've had one of those friends. And that's a little bit awkward because you're like, dude, I haven't talked to you in forever. Why are you trying to sell me this random thing I don't need right now?
Or, I don't want to buy your kids popcorn. I haven't even talked to you in 6 months. Like, how about, how you doing? I was thinking about you the other day. So translate that same thing over with the idea of you're building long-term relationships with your clients. And you want to give, you're just checking in. You're just saying, hi, we appreciate your business, or check out this exciting news for our area. Brittany has an example on the screen of just Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Like we're not asking you to click on anything. Like there's no buttons for you to click on. There's no sales pitch. There's no find out more information about this or this. It's just literally, we wish you the happiest of holidays from our staff to yours. And what you can't see on this same email, at least I don't know, you can't. This is from our great friends over at Elan. And the owners were dressed up as Mr. and Mrs. Claus, and they had sent us a picture that we were able to include in that email, which adding those personal touches are so phenomenal. And they had done a campaign where people from the community were filling up this car with toys. I think it was for Toys for Tots, or it may have been something similar. So they were Mr. and Mrs. Claus, and they were participating in this community-wide event. And those kind of things, just letting people know what's going on with you guys as a business, as a personality, is so important to generating that trust and that longevity in that relationship. Another thing you can do with the same aspect is, let's say you had back over to, I think I may be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's Ocean Isle Beach was just ranked Brunswick County's best beach by one of the Brunswick County voters' choice, something like that. And that's exciting. And I think it goes without saying, if you were to say to your guest, and maybe you wouldn't market this to everybody, but to your repeat guest, be like, hey, you already knew that it was the best beach, didn't you? Like, we're just so thankful for the people who come out to our beaches that make it the best beach possible. So give people that free information, or if you have frequently asked questions for your guests, so send them that out ahead of time. So number one, you're answering yes, and maybe keeping from having so many people call in and answering questions ahead of time. It's also giving them valuable information. You're not asking anything in return.
And I just want to interject something in here. You kind of hit on this in a previous point, but when you talked about, sending a download or sending something, say, hey, we have a free vacation meal planner for you. Like, we don't want you to do anything. We don't want you to buy anything. We're just sending you this meal planner because we thought it might be helpful for you while you're planning your vacation this year, even if it's not with us, and that is a great way, because you're actually giving something. And in sales, it's called the law of reciprocation. And so when somebody receives something from you, they feel like, oh, I should give them something back. So use that to your advantage.
Yes. Another great example would be a list of best restaurants. Some of your local favorites, a checklist of any kind, a beach scavenger hunt. If you have someone in-house that can design that for you, or you can hire that out, then you have this. It's simple. You can use the same piece of material in thousands of emails. You can recycle it year after year if it's branded appropriately, and you have this thing. So it's kind of a reverse of a call to action. It's kind of a call to click. So when you put in your subject line, free printable or free download, and they see it's from you, it's not the same as getting a free download from, Microsoft or Google or something. Like, this is like, whoa, what do they got? What do they have for me? And then again, it's just something free that you're giving them because you care about them and you want to make their vacation the best possible. And that's really, that kind of wraps us up through these 5 tips and tricks from my personal bag of top 5 favorites.
Yes.
But I did want to say too, when it comes to guest acquisition and guest retention, which we all know are 2 things that are fundamental to building your vacation rental management business, email marketing, in my mind, is without a doubt one of your key things that you absolutely must do. But done in conjunction with social media management, with search engine optimization, with a great website, you now create a package deal. So I hope you all are engaging in that. And if you're not, we're available to help you with that. Brittany would be more than happy to send you a quote if you're not already participating in our marketing program. But just before we wrap completely up, I just wanted to mention one other thing, and this is getting a little bit technical, but I just want to put this last little thing.
I made a slide for you.
Great. Okay. Google Analytics. So how do you know that your emails are performing well? Because obviously, if the phone is ringing more, you're getting more clicks, those are coming from somewhere. Well, Google Analytics, for the most part, doesn't lie. Like, yeah, they can be skewed every once in a while. But for the most part, the facts are the facts, and you can filter out the spam. So when we do our email marketing campaigns, we use a campaign builder, and Brittany has given you a bit.ly link right here, bit.ly/URL builder. And if you use that, it will actually help you build a custom URL so you can track that particular email in Google Analytics. So if you have someone on your team that's their responsibility is tracking those Google Analytics, put them to work using this URL builder. And then that way you can see exactly how many people are clicking on what and when they're clicking on it. And then is it actually producing that return on investment, or is it actually resulting in bookings? And if you're not doing this, this would be an advanced step. So get those emails out there. That's step number one. And this is something that very close on its heels. So that way you can monitor the process. And the one thing that I do want to mention too is that your software program that you're using for your email marketing should have some basic analytics built in too. It may only give you percentages of how many people clicked or how many people actually opened. And those are all great indicators too of how your email is actually performing. So don't ignore those numbers, but also don't gauge everything off the first few. So give yourself a few months and actually start gathering that data and looking at it over the course of 3 months, 6 months, and over a year. And then once you have a year's worth of information, going back and comparing it against last year's. If something worked really, really well in April last year, my advice is repeat it. Try to figure out what you did and do it again.
Do it again. Tracy, would you mind going over each one of these boxes, just starting with the top box, and just kind of give everybody a little bit of information about what they need to put in those boxes? Because that for me was really overwhelming the first time I used it. And you use this thing like a pro now, so I'd love you to give your opinions and advice.
I do. I use it almost every day, and it can vary different. For our clients, it does vary different because some of our clients use it in a very specific way because they're looking for a very specific piece of information. So I'm going to give you the basics of what I would do. So the very first thing you're going to do is you're only going to use this for when you're sending people to your website. So if you were sending them over to look at a Google map or something, you don't need to use this. This is only for things that are landing on your website. So let's say it's your oceanfront property group. All right, so you go and you grab the URL from your top bar. So grab the URL that's your business /oceanfront. And then you're going to drop it right there on that very top website URL box. So remember, for the most part, that shouldn't be just, sunsetvacations.com. We want to send them to a specific place. So that's what's going to go there, that URL. The next thing is the campaign source. So actually right here, this, for me, we use Constant Contact. So we would say in that block, Constant Contact. So you can use, if you're using MailChimp, if you're strictly doing this as a newsletter, you could certainly put newsletter there. They give you some examples, but that's something that you're going to want to put there. For our uses, we say Constant Contact.
I'd like the record to reflect that I haven't used this in months because you don't use it for social media. So I put this together and it's totally wrong. That's why I wanted Tracy to go over it with you guys.
That's okay. The next block is correct, email. So this is an email that's going out. So the difference is if this was an email 1 or an email 2, you could differentiate between those. Let's say you were doing 2 a month, so you wanted to say this was 1, 2, 3, 4. Another thing is if this link was something specific that you were putting on only on your, let's say you had your logo at the top of your email and you wanted it to, you wanted to know if someone was specifically clicking on that logo to lead back, which I don't think anyone actually would. But let's just say you did. You wanted to know if it was worth having a link there or not. So you could actually put a logo banner or something like that in that block. But for our purposes, we normally say email. This next one would be if you were going to qualify what your email was. If you wanted to say, like, this was my one about travel insurance, or this was about our book now for spring, you can put that right there in that campaign name. Campaign terms, we do use that. This would be and let me back up. Another way that you could differentiate for like the campaign name is also by the month and the year, and we do that quite often too. So it might say like April_2018. So you know that email was generated and sent out in April 2018. The next two are things that they're not essential. You don't have to use them. If you had paid keywords that you were using, you could use the campaign terms. The same thing for the content. And like I said, sometimes we'll often use Constant Contact. Will go in that bottom campaign content as well, because it's the very last piece of that long tail URL, that link, so we know it comes from Constant Contact. Oh, and look at Google Analytics. And so there you can see where we have named things different times. Email blast and email newsletter. If you were just sending something out as a one-time blast, you could label that as a blast. If it was a newsletter, if you were giving, and I want everyone, this was something I should have probably started off with. We actually had to retrain our brains here at the VRM marketing department, because if all you're doing is sending out newsletters, and when I say newsletters, you're talking about here's some area activities and the dates they're going on, and it's very like, you know, back in high school, you'd get your newsletter from wherever, and it's just those bits of information, and you're just doing the same thing every time. That's not in and of itself bad, but I encourage you to think beyond that. There's so much more to email marketing than just sending out a newsletter. So we actually retrained our language to call them email campaigns. So what you're actually creating is an email campaign, and then the segments of that campaign are then dripped out through the year. Now, some of them may drip out in the form of a blast or a newsletter, or some may go in the form of a spring specials sale, or it may go out as a travel insurance targeted email. So really think of it as a cumulative whole piece of marketing, and it's a campaign that you're dripping out pieces of that campaign over time. And I also highly recommend that you have a plan for the entire year, that you are not just thinking 1 month at a time, and really think about it, because the last thing that you want to do is forget that like Mother's Day is in May, and you're like, oh man, I meant to do a special, but you should have been marketing that back at the beginning of April if you wanted to invite people to come to a Mother's Day weekend. That marketing is being done ahead of time. And one of the things, and I'm sure Brittany would agree, in the marketing world, your brain is always, you know, 2 or 3 months in the future. It's hard to remember what day and month you're actually in, because you're marketing to the future. So remember that when you're coming up with that campaign, and use your staff, the people in your office, and their local knowledge and their expertise to actually help you generate some of this content. Because after all, you are the expert at your area. You know when the Croaker Festival is, and maybe I shouldn't use that terminology. So just so you know, we live in Eastern North Carolina, and we have something called a croaker, which is a fish festival. Or you might have a pirate invasion coming up, or a strawberry festival, or you may have a big, air show happening. I know in Charleston, they have an air show, and here we do too. So use all those pieces that you know of your area, and use it to your advantage in part of your marketing tactics. Your staff knows the most frequently asked questions. Translate those into really great solid pieces of email. And just as you look at this piece of Google Analytics, if you don't use Google Analytics, don't be overwhelmed. It's still overwhelming to me for most of the time, but there's tons of resources out there that could help you get started with Google Analytics.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much, Tracy, for being on with me today. I'm going to go ahead and open the floor for questions. So if you guys have questions, tap the little Q&A box down at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and then you'll be able to ask questions of Tracy. I have one that I want to go ahead and ask you. And this one comes from Amber, and she was asking, what email system do you recommend, and which one do you use?
Well, we use Constant Contact. Personally, I have used others. I've used MailChimp. I have used ConvertKit. I have used email marketing that is built into other software and not email, but website platforms. So obviously all of you have access to the VRM email marketing portions. If you're not already using that to its full extent, that's a great place to start. You just, it's just a different kind of email marketing. So it's perfect for sending out bits of information that you want to send to your guests who are already booked. When we're talking about guest acquisition, you want a robust email marketing program that you can put these, great pieces of high image. You can create your own custom graphics to go in there and have a lot of control over each individual piece of that email. The best marketing program around you can find is the VRM marketing team. But if you want to attempt it yourself, we do highly recommend Constant Contact. It's very user friendly. It's easy to use. It's drag and drop as far as building it. You can customize it in a lot of different ways and make it look fabulous and very easily.
Awesome. All right. Well, that was all the questions that I actually got for today. So thank you, Tracy, for being on. I so appreciate it. And guys, I just want to tell you, next month's Tea with Brittany Lee is going to be a little bit different. So be on the lookout for that information coming tomorrow in your email, because I'm actually going to be on site with the Lindbrook group down in Raleigh. So they live a couple hours from me, and I am going to drive down there. And so on Instagram, I'm going to give you a live tour of their office and give you a little meet out all of their staff. And you're going to get to watch the Tea with Brittany Lee, where I'm going to be sitting face to face with Sharon and Tim from the Lindbrook group. And it's going to be so much fun. Also, make sure you're watching out for that VRM University Live in Wilmington. That information, it is not too late for you to register. Please, please come and see us in Wilmington. And if you can't make it to Wilmington, but you'd like to know about our Florida show that's going to be coming up a little bit later this year, please just send us a little email and let us know, marketing@vrmgr.com. And just put Florida VRMU. And we'll be so happy to send you that information, because we are going to Florida. Hey. So yeah, I just want to say, oh, go ahead, Tracy. Sorry.
I just wanted to tell all of you who are thinking about coming to the Wilmington live event, April 26th, 2018, it's just a few weeks away, that if you have more marketing questions or specific email marketing questions, we're going to be opening up a portion of that live event for a roundtable Q&A. So you will be able to sign up when you arrive to have blocks of time with individual members of our team. So whether if you want to talk to the marketing team, or want to spend 10, I don't remember, 20-minute blocks we had said, you have a few minutes with guys. Then you want to go over and talk to, the training team about something specific about Welcome Home, or if you have some questions about software features that are being released later this year, you can sign up to talk to us personally. So Brittany and I will be there, Connie will be there, Mike and Jonathan and Lauren. And so we'll actually be able to answer face-to-face in a personal format very specific questions for you, or do some guided discussion. So bring your questions to the show, okay?
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, everybody. Be on the lookout for the next Tea with Brittany Lee information in your inbox tomorrow. Also, the live replay will be available there as well. So you can watch it again and get your notes and your information. And if you ever have any questions, just send us an email, help@vrmgr.com, and we're happy to answer them for you. Thanks again, Tracy, for being on today. I so appreciate it. And we will talk to you guys next month. Bye.